Okay, the last thing we're going to do is create our second table. So I'm just going to load Access and load the database that I've been working on. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a second table where we can actually keep track of every time we contact a client. So I'm going to call it Contact Details. So just click on Create, click on Table, and we're going to use some different field types this time. So keep ID there, that's fine. We don't really need it, but we can keep it there. Click to add. The first one's going to be a number field, and it is going to be Client ID. This is actually the field that we'll be using to link with our clients table. Our next field we want is a date time field, and it's going to be called Date of Contact. Date of Contact. Our third field is for the type of contact. It's just going to be text. Type of, oops, too many letters there. Now not enough. Type of contact. It's obviously getting late at night. You can see, look, see the time down here, just to prove that I. Type of contact, and in the type of contact it will be things like whether it was a site visit, a phone call, an email. Our next one is a memo field, and this is for comments. So we're going to create comments, and the last one is going to be a yes/no field, and we're going to call it whether a follow up is required, and it's just a yes/no. Yes, a follow up is required, or no, it's not. So I've put all the information that I want in it. So next thing I need to do is go into the actual data view. I just pick the name, contact details, go into design mode so I can just tweak some of these properties. So I'm happy with that, happy with that. With the date of contact, I'm just going to put an input mask in so that we can determine the format of how the date's going to get entered, which is just like that. Next, finish. And everything else, type of contact, all the others is the same, but with the type of contact I'm actually going to create a lookup field right here. So if I click on lookup, and I'm not going to do a text box, I'm going to do a combo box. I do like combo boxes, it's my option. The row sourced is just a value list because we're going to type it in, and all I need to do is type in what items I want to put in here. So perhaps one could be a site visit, second one could be a phone call, third one would be sent an email, and maybe just to cover our bases, one that none of the above or other. So that's all I want to do. So I'm just going to click save and close. Beautiful. The next thing I need to do is actually tell Access how these two tables are related together. So essentially telling it what is the common field between the two. So whenever we have our contact details, we can have the client number, and it knows when the client number matches a client here that we want all the details of the clients available to us. I'm just going to click on Database Tools, click on Relationships, and I'm going to the table, so just click Show Tables, so add that one, click Close, so they're both there. Just grow this a little bit just so you can actually see fields. What we're going to do is this field here is going to link with this field here. So all I need to do is my left mouse button, drag it on top of client ID, let go, and this little window will pop up. And what it's asking is, or what it's telling us is, what we're going to match is ID from the clients table with client ID from the contacts details table, which is exactly what we're doing. A tick here to enforce referential integrity. What that ensures is that I can't add a contact detail for a client that doesn't exist. The relationship is a one-to-many, which is exactly what it should be. What that means is that for every client, unique client, we can have multiple entries in this particular file. So this is the one, this is the many. Click create, and there's the 1 to the infinity, and you can see that relationship now exists. Again, click save. If you don't, it'll actually tell you and ask you if you want to save it, and click close. So that's very, very simple. What I'm going to do now is allow us to be able to actually enter some data into that particular table that we just created. And one of the ways that I can do that is to add a subform to my actual client's data entry. So I'm just going to use the one that we were playing with before, which is this client's one. So I'm just going to double click it to open it, and then go back to home and change the view to design view. It is a tad messy, so I'm just going to just clean it up a tiny little bit before I add that, just to make this a little bit smaller, just so that we can add it down the bottom. Oops, right on top of the other one, just like so. Make that one can be way, way smaller. The one I have in classes and the one I have in the notes is actually a little bit neater. This is just my, mad moment when I'm just being a little bit messy. You can pretty it up later. It's not a big deal. We don't need phone number to be that big. A little bit smaller and just dump it up there. It's not important in that one. You know how to fix that up and make it look pretty. So what I want to do though is I want to actually add, using this particular control, I want to add a subform to this form. You'll see what it does once we finish it. So I just click on that. Just going to draw it down the bottom here and go through the process of using the wizard. Use an existing table of query. Yes, that's what I want to do. What I want is, I want the contact details file. Now I don't need ID because that's generated automatically, and I really don't need client ID as well, because the idea of having the relationship is that we know the client ID is going to match the particular record we're on. So what I want is that one, that one, that one, and that one. Click next. Automatically comes up because we've got the relationship. It's going to say show the contact details for each record and clients using ID, which is perfect. Click that. Happy to leave it as subform, it doesn't really matter what you call it here, and click finish. I'm just going to do a little bit of growing it again just to fix that up. I might go down the page a little bit, drag this down tiny so I can make this a little bit like so, just to get the size right. So you can play with it. Click on view to go into view. So what I can do now is just tweak it a little bit, so now I know what it's going to look like. Move that down a little bit, make that one bigger, like so, just to make it fill up the space. As I said, you can adjust it to however you want. So we're happy with it, so we can preview it. If you want to take it back into design mode, you can just go back into design mode and tweak it again. I'm just going to go back into form mode. The idea of having the subform is that what we'll be able to do is we can actually record multiple entries here. So we'll just drag these across. Something like that, maybe not quite that much. So just to test it, what I can do, I'm just going to save it just to make sure, and I can put in the date of contact, so 23/05/2012. Type of contact, we have a little drop down list that's been created. Comments, did a visit and they are very interested in our IT access books. And I'll tick yes, we need a follow-up required, because we'll go and visit them again or send them out a copy when our actual access books arrive. And again, use the navigation bar to move through, find another client that you might have visited, and again you can enter in type of contact 2012 Oops, that's because I've moved it. That's the wrong spot. Date. It's getting late. 2012 type of contact, phone call, comments, just rang to make an appointment, and no follow-up required. And then maybe we could actually record the appointment, so say 30/05/2012 we did a site visit and took out our latest titles to see what they may be interested in. And yes, a follow-up required to see whether they'd like to order any. And as you work through, you can see it's recorded one item for that, and we'll go back to that other client, and now there's 2 actual visits, and we know that we need a follow-up required. So that's really simply how we can create a form and a very basic subform.